very warm welcome to this special show. Aparajita and the Economic Times presents IR Conclave, supported by CII. I'm Shivani Muthana. Today's theme is centered on challenges in compliance for contemporary business. When it comes to compliance, it's best not to take chances. With the backdrop of the ever-changing business environment and policy framework, and the idea of ensuring regulatory requirements are business-enhancing rather than hindering, let's head straight to the keynote address.
If I have listed down some of the major issues that we face as an industry, see, if you take the Shop and Commercial Establishment Act, it is a state legislation, and if you take the leave rules, it varies from state to state. Today, most of the companies operate on pan-India basis and have their branches and factories across the country. But the challenge is, if you transfer a person from, say, Tamil Nadu to Maharashtra, the leave provisions alters widely. So in Tamil Nadu, you have to give 36 days, and there are lesser number of days in Maharashtra. These are the challenges we encounter as an industry. If you take the PF fact, the basic wage is getting redefined, and see, Madras High Court and Madhya Pradesh High Courts have reinterpreted this basic wage component, and the matter is sub judice in Supreme Court. And similarly, if you take the definition of establishment under Contract Labour Act, the way the state and central authority interprets that is quite different. Central authorities interpret establishment as a legal entity, whereas the state authorities go by each and every branch. Despite these challenges, gaps in labor law compliances could drag corporate into financial and prosecution risks and handling of concerns on corporate governance and industrial employee relations. At this backdrop, Aparajita presents its second edition of IR Conclave, aptly themed as Contemporary Business Challenges in Compliance. Due to sudden development, Chief Guest of our conclave, Honorable Justice Sri Mohit S. Shah, Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, couldn't make it personally to inaugurate this event. However, despite his pressing engagements today, he has graciously spared time to virtually inaugurate this event. So we are going to make use of the technology to inaugurate this event today.
The conclave couldn't have been better timed, because now we all know that with hundreds of laws and regulations, the industries and even those in the service sector have to invest so much time and energy and, of course, funds in ensuring that all laws and regulations are complied with. I am also very happy to note that the subjects for this conclave are very interesting. For instance, flexible employment is the need of the hour. There are many areas where the employees need not work for the routine 9-to-5 job, especially in the information technology sector. The employees can work not only before or after the regular office hours, but even sitting at home. Similarly, the area of compensation, the practice and problems of this area need to be discussed thoroughly. I would suggest that the conclave should go a step further and not merely study the problems from the perspective of the employer-employee relationship, but also to incentivize payment of higher compensation to the employees. For instance, the insurance premium that the employer pays to the insurance company for taking a policy under the Workmen's Compensation Act or similar laws, the government should be persuaded that higher tax deduction should be made available instead of treating it as a business expenditure qualifying for 100% deduction. The subject of laws governing women employees also very, very important. We all know that it's not just a question of giving them benefits equal to men, but women also have special needs. So laws for their maternity relief are, of course, there for the last several decades. But now, under the directions given by the Supreme Court, the Vishaka committees have been appointed are being appointed in several organizations. Now the Parliament has also made a law and seen to it that the women get necessary protection at their workplaces, not merely in terms of the traditional physical assault that we read about in the newspapers, but even subtle sexual harassment. Going beyond this negative features, I think what you all should consider is also taking proactive, positive steps for the benefit of women employees. So I'm very happy that this conclave has been organized by 3 leading stakeholders in the business system. I wish the conclave a grand success, and I'm sure that the deliberations at the conclave will go a long way in solving your problems. Thank you.
I bring a cheerful welcome to Shri Balakrishna Patel, Chairman, ER Subcommittee, CI Western Region, and Vice President, Employee Relations, Mahindra & Mahindra, who is present here to appropriately set the tone and context for the conclave through his keynote address.
Now, being chairman of CII, we had a lot of discussions about the compliances. We had a task force. And our recommendations would be that the labor laws in the country are archaic and have not kept pace with globalization, competitiveness, and market dynamics. Hence, we must revisit our labor laws to make them more flexible and up to date. Second, rationalize and combine all the existing 44 central acts and state level labor laws into several major buckets, which consist of laws governing industrial relations, laws governing wages, laws governing social security, and laws governing welfare. We must formulate a separate set of labor laws for MSME, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, and the service sector, and also we should formulate a special set of laws for mass manufacturing enterprise. Amend current laws such as Contract Labor Act and Trade Union Acts, which control the multiplicity of unions. Now, to help the companies to comply timely, there must be single window clearance. Time-bound approvals by introducing deemed approvals in case the delays beyond prescribed limits, e-governance and technology-based initiatives to simplify processes, and also e-enabling, e-filing of all taxes, uninterrupted access to online services. These would be our recommendations. Now, I will be failing my duty if I don't mention that in 2020, the average age of Indian worker, whether it's a sweeper, whether a technician, whether it's a manager or vice president, or even doctors, nurses, is going to be 25. So we'll be dealing with a lot of young labor force. Either they are entrepreneurs. So what are the characteristics we should understand? They are tech savvy, achievement oriented, demand quick decisions, high expectations from employers, knowledgeable and more anxious. Thus, we must prepare to fulfill aspirations of Gen Y. We must ensure that our labor laws are appropriately addressed at relevant time towards conclusive growth of India. With this, I conclude my speech. Thank you very much for Aparajita for giving me this opportunity.
But before industry leaders share their views and expertise on matters of compliance, the IR Conclave commemorated the Xavier Labour Relations Institute, or XLRI, with the Award of Excellence for their sterling contribution to the field of human resource and industrial relations. Time for a quick break. On the other side of the IR Conclave, we take up the concept of flexible employment and discuss contract labour issues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the IR Conclave and straight to the first session of the day. Eminent members of the compliance industry deliberate on how flexible employment can be molded into being a business generator despite challenges with contract and temporary labor.
Uniform.
In today's competitive corporate scenario, there is a greater need to hire contract labor to ensure cost saving and agility to survive. But it has its challenges. Professor J.N. Amrolia of the Chennai Business School highlights the legal and administrative concerns of contract labor.
There are basically two challenges. One is the legal challenge and one is the challenge of dealing with people. Legally, there are Supreme Court rulings about confinement of permanency if somebody works for 240 days continuously. And in Tamil Nadu, for example, there is a law which says that 480 days if somebody works on a regular basis is deemed to be confirmed. So you have legal issues. The companies tend to sometimes bypass them by giving a break after 180 days or 200 days so that they don't complete that. The other issue is actually saying bye-bye to employees, particularly if they have been working with you for a long time. They can go to court and they can say that no, they are doing regular jobs and your dismissal is illegal. In which case, you have to fight and show that your dismissal is legal, it's not dismissal, it's only ending of a contract and they are really on contract.
Another challenge with flexible employment is the disparity of wages between contract and regular workforce that lends potential for dispute. The HR and IR departments need to draw a balance, keeping best interest in mind. Senior Advocate K. Kasturi speaks about what the government can do to support contract labour.
Legislating has taken a lot of has given a lot of protection. The government can abolish contract labour, but the question is how these things will be challenged. Like canteen contract labour matters pending in Supreme Court. Like that, we see government in the phased manner may abolish contract labour system. In that sense, once contract system is abolished, they may not become your permanent employees, but they will claim permanency because Supreme Court itself has said in sales case that you must consider their case for if you want to absorb or recruit by waiving the educational or age limit.
With the changing economic environment, K.S. Venkateshwaran of the Sanmar Group says there is a pressing need to recraft the relationship between the employer, subcontract facilitator and contract labour.
Flexibility is something which is taken for granted. Now, employers like FedEx, Walmart, McDonald's, etc., they meet competitive pressures. All the American employers meet the competitive pressures by farming out work through subcontractors, vendors, and franchises.
A well set out definition of who is the boss is bound to impact business positively. Moving on to one of the most crucial dimensions of employment, compensation practices and problems. The factor being maintaining a competitive business edge, but doing it with fairness and inclusion. At the outset, compensation and salary structure compliance is a complex matter. Understanding the various terms and definitions that apply under different legislations, states and cities in itself is a problem in compliance. Venkat Narayanan of Rane Holdings draws attention to the core issue.
For example, if you take PF earnings, there are 3 High Court judgments today, and against those judgments pronounced by the Honorable High Court, there are some writ petitions by employers. And the matter is sub judice at the Supreme Court level also. This certainly poses a lot of problem, and new people coming in to the system and taking up IR as a function, they have a huge challenge in terms of understanding and complying, number one. And number two, to the question of deductions, like I was mentioning, quoting a calculation which is made by the team lease and sent to us, it's huge. Today's people, early state of career, need more cash in hand, and they can always wait for a while to put in money for their savings. The early stage, it's cash in hand that makes a difference to them. Now, if you start insisting on huge savings right from the beginning, it's very difficult. It leads to a situation at the ground level which is not a great motivator for the workforce.
There are a number of contentious points regarding wage compensation that require immediate consideration. Advocate Bharat Goyal brings up cases of litigation that have questioned the compliance framework or could set a precedent.
The Madras High Court and the MP High Court. In the case of Reynolds Limited, and the MP High Court in the case of Surya Roshni. Now, in these particular cases, the High Courts had taken a view that allowances, like take the case of conveyance allowance and various other allowances, which are universally, ordinarily and necessarily paid to all the employees across the board, then these allowances have to fall within the ambit of the definition of basic wages. Now, this view has been challenged by these employers before the Supreme Court, and the matter is pending. Now, we also have a conflicting judgment of Punjab and Haryana High Court, because in Punjab, what happens in the state of Punjab, the minimum wages is classified as basic wages and there are no special allowances. So in Punjab Haryana High Court, the High Court has said that certain allowances which the PF department wants to be included for the purpose of basic wages, they have to be excluded.
So what can be done to ensure payroll compliance and create a win-win scenario for the employer and employee? K. Vardhan of Aparajita Corporate Services stresses on the need for simplification of policy structure, procedure and processes.
The determination is difficult, understanding is difficult, implementation is difficult. In addition, the judiciary, various high courts may come up with contradictory judgments. So which one is to be followed? Again, the employees would be an fix. There are over 45 central legislations and 125 state legislations are there in the labor and industrial field. So if this could be simplified, then it would be easy for the employers, and that would be definitely supportive of business that could attract more FDIs from other countries.
We'll slip into a short break, but the IR Conclave will be back with a focus on laws governing women employees. Welcome back to the IR Conclave. On to a much debated topic, and that's women workforce. We already have a proven business case for more women in the corporate field. But what more can be done through gender-related compliance laws? Here's a look. While it is established that women are a force to reckon with at the workplace, there is indeed much more room for them to fill in the corporate world. Rituparna Chakrabarti of the Indian Staffing Federation is of the view that the strictness in the sexual harassment law has restricted women employment, and certain provisions in gender law need to be relaxed to bring women into the formal workforce.
If you notice, workforce participation is 29%, which is by far one of the lowest in the world. The only countries which are ahead of us in this are Iran, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Even countries like Somalia, Bahrain, Malaysia are ahead of us. In comparison to all the BRIC nations, we are at the lowest. The point that I'm making is that in reality, what is the reason behind it? I mean, few people say that it's happening because in urban areas, women are studying longer. Can that explain the gap? I don't think so. Many people are saying that given that a lot of jobs are being available in the rural areas, those people are not moving anymore. Or they have chosen not to work anymore. But the fact which we are missing is, when we're doing all these calculations, we obviously are not able to tap into the informal sector hiring. If you look at it, the irony is that 29% is a misnomer. There are far more women who are working in this country. It's just that they're in the unorganized sector. They're in the informal sector where they have no recognition, they have no benefits, there is no credibility.
So what kind of amendments are required in women-specific labour laws to help increase their employment? G. Madhuri of T.S. Gopalan and Company explains.
The amendments are actually coming into place right now. For example, in the Factories Act, the Lok Sabha has proposed a recent amendment in respect of employment of women in night shifts. They have liberalized it, they have opened it so that the women can be employed in night shifts, subject to state giving certain parameters like they have to be picked up, ensure their safety, there is no harassment, special facilities are provided for them at the time of night shifts. So those are there. And they also, said that the women can be engaged in, heavy workload also, except if they're not pregnant. So they are slowly amending it, but then it is not coming to as much as it is what is required to. So we hope that, once, as we go step by step, once this legislation comes into force, we hope that the next step also we go by.
Another constraint is the practicality of implementing the law, especially those related to sexual harassment at the workplace. Shri Bhumi Yasaswani of Kasturi Associates emphasizes the need for better understanding and coordinated policy formulation.
I'm going to write a negative report. First thing, the law is not adequate. It's not been framed with, the right kind of inputs. So there are a lot of lacunae that have to be attended to, and the only way that you can do it is actually have employers reporting back, collecting their feedback, and then trying to amend the law, and protection to men is absolutely nil. So it's very bad. And as far as compliance is concerned, it's very minimal. It's very minimal. People are still trying to understand the act, and all the practical difficulties that are out here, it's making it difficult for the people to actually comply, because they're not able to understand what they should do in given circumstances, whether this is allowed, this is not allowed. So it's a lot of confusion still out. There's nothing much. We have to encourage more of understanding of the enactment, more of improvisation. This act especially needs a good, big, nice amendment in the coming future.
Time now for the concluding session of the IR Conclave that took up imminent and impending issues of labour compliance, such as engagement of trainees, outsourcing of contract labour, and dealing with trade unions. Topping the list of impending issues is dealing with trade unions, made evident with the recent labour unrest at car maker Maruti's manufacturing hub. Senior advocate K.M. Nayak makes a pitch for a more balanced set of business conduct guidelines.
It is not a question that you are being penalized. Throughout the country, the contract labour is really being exploited according to the unions. So therefore this is going to be a national issue. So much so that even politicians may be confronted with this issue. So therefore that needs to be addressed. What is the meaning of Rule 25 central and the state rules 25, which provides for equal work, equal pay, but it is not being done. It is not being complied with. Okay, that is the matter. This is one. Secondly, about if you want to close down an industry, employing 100 or more workmen, you have to take prior permission. You want to retrench people, you have to make prior application to the state government for permission. This is an issue for compliance. It becomes very, very impracticable. So laws needs to be amended. Laws need to be amended so that there is freedom to the employers to organize and reorganize their business.
In most cases, labour unions are of the view that they are being exploited, leading to instances of violence and indiscipline. The managing partner at Michael Dias and Associates recommends adherence to the Industrial Disputes Act to set up a grievance settlement committee in every organization.
We are all familiar with the Trade Union Act. My best piece of advice to all Indian employers is not to shun trade unions as pariah. What you really need to do is to address the issues raised by them and in a pragmatic manner evaluate the demands that they are making. If they are fair and just, I don't believe you need to take too much time to resolve them. Alternatively, yes, I do believe that sometimes trade unions make exorbitant demands or demands that are neither fair nor just nor equitable. In that scenario, let me tell you, the Industrial Disputes Act that we have is extremely robust and can deal with all these scenarios in a fair, legal and proper manner.
With the questions part at least.
Another issue that was brought to light was the engagement and laws governing trainees. Anil Kaushik of Business Manager magazine says companies have to conform to relevant laws to promote skill building and employment.
Trainees engagement nowadays in the industry is very common, and it is also good from the angle that the government also wants skill building and encouragement of the boys and the persons of the industry, so that employers should give them opportunity to look at the arena and the opportunity, so that boys who are not completely trained or completely educated, they should get an opportunity in the industry to get trained. But at that angle, employer need to take care that those people are not exploited. They should be fully trained, they should be given an opportunity for employment, and if not, they should be trained in such a way that they are able to make their way and life ahead in the employment future after leaving the industry.
Well, it's a wrap here at the IR Conclave. Remember, compliance has consequences. It leads to better governance, more trust, and higher profits. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.